Hello and welcome to episode 87 of the Hollywood Knitter Podcast. My name is Allison. I will coming to you from my home in Los Angeles, California, where hopefully everyone had a wonderful 2024 because it is January 3rd, 2025. The new year has started. I am feeling really good about the new year. I had a wonderful holiday season. For the holidays, we didn't go anywhere. We didn't travel. Most of my immediate family is back east. And I typically don't travel to see them for Christmas. Traveling at Christmas is no fun. For all those who do it, no fun, whether you're driving or flying or anything. So I do just the local Christmas night with my boyfriend's family. They are of Mexican descent and they do their Christmas Eve. We go over there from 9 till about 4 in the morning. And it's a lot of fun. And then Christmas Day, I usually, FaceTime my family to see some of their presents, opening things. And then it's a relaxing day. Then there's nothing else. It's awesome. But I want to show you, because it's right behind me, one of the gifts that my brother gave me. And as for my Morocco trip, he had a pillow made with various pictures from Morocco. It's kind of funny. I don't think I'm actually in any of these pictures except maybe the group picture. And then on the back he chose this as the big picture. This is my Uncle Mike. This was a picture he took when we were in one of the last cities on the coast, and yeah, that's what he chose as the picture. It's pretty fun. So it is up here in my office with all my other pillows. But yeah, so it was a good holiday. I'm going to get into it. Today is going to be a little different. I'm going to go over my whips and things like that. I'm also going to go over 2024 kind of wrap up and goals and talk about 2025, where I'm looking forward in the coming year. So it might be a little longer than usual, but hopefully y'all bear with me. First up, we're going to start with my FOs, and we're going to start with the one I'm wearing. And this is the Grid Lines by Suzanne Sommer. I started it in mid-November and finished it a few days before New Year's. And the yarn is Suburban Stitcher Sock in Oslo. And I actually reclaimed this from another project. I made a cardigan out of this and it wasn't working. And I really love the color of this yarn, and I don't often reclaim yarn. A lot of times I'll just rather give the project away, but in this particular case, I really did want this yarn. And so I made the grid lines, and I have a little video so I don't have to stand up, so you can kind of see me showing it off. Now, this is a very interesting construction. You actually start in the center back and work this way, and then pick up and work that way. And it's kind of hard to explain, but you basically do one half of the sweater and then you pick up and do the other half of the sweater. And so when I was picking sizes, this is the medium one. Her patterns have so many options. So they have a tighter neck, so they have a small, medium, large neck. So basically small, more crew. This is a medium neck, and then a large neck would be even larger than that. And then there's like 6 or 7 different lengths you can choose. I went with one that was semi-ish cropped because I was trying to do something different, a little cropped, cropped for me. And so I did this C size. I think originally I was going to do the B, but then because you're knitting this side to side, really what matters for the size, for the size this way was my stitch gauge, which was on, so I was pretty good. And then I had to change, my gauge was a little off this way because it's the row gauge that matters for your circumference. So that's a little different, and my row gauge almost always is off from a project. It almost never matches. So I ended up actually going up a size to the C size because I wanted to make sure that I was going to have enough circumference. And actually, I'm pretty happy with it. It's actually technically a 44-inch circumference around here, but I think it fits really well. I'm really happy with how it comes out. It is just a fun sweater. I think it's going to be a great kind of throw on sweater. I need to figure out what I'm going to wear it with because it is a little shorter than I like. So I'll always most of my sweaters, I always wear a t-shirt or a tank top or something in it. I could wear this with a tank top like tucked into jeans in case like I'm not big on the belly showing right now. Maybe later, but not right now. But it hits right there. So I could have probably would have liked maybe another inch, but because it's done lengthwise, you know, that is. When I measured it, and I kind of actually pre-blocked like my strip originally to make sure my length was going to be good. And it is 12 inches. What did I get? No, I think it's got 14 inches. 14 inches from the underarm, but 19-inch total from the top of the sweater to the bottom. I think I usually like around a 20 or 21. But I wanted to go a little out of my comfort zone. I wanted to use it. It's great, actually. I'm pretty happy with it. So I totally recommend the pattern if you're looking for something different. This is fingering weight yarn. I think she might have had some other weights. I can't remember. But there's just so many options. Mix and match, loose, big, different necklines, and the patterns are all very clear. I'm a sucker for an interest in construction. So the fact that it's the side to side, and you know, your length is your cast on. So that's why you have to kind of get it from the beginning. Now I could, this does have just a wide ribbing on the bottom. And so I could make it longer because, you know, I'm smart that way, but I like it. I think I just have to be more okay with shorter sweaters on me, which looks really good. When you see the video, I think I looked great, or I looked fine. All right, so that is the Grid Lines by Suzanne Sommer. That was my last garment of 2024, but I did finish some socks and hats. So let's show the socks. So through the month of 2024, I had gotten the Woolens and Nosh Advent sock skein, and I decided to make these for my boyfriend, and here they are. And I did all 24 stripes for him. I thought when I got this and I measured, because this is my first year getting it, and so I was wondering if the 50 grams, it comes in a bag. I think my bag's right here. I think I've showed it. Clip closed, so you don't have to see the next color coming. You can stop on the contrast, and each ball was 50 grams. And I thought that maybe you would get 224. Not exactly. So after I finish these, this is about 70 grams of the 70 grams of the color yarn. And then it was a very generous 30-gram contrast. And so you're able to do toes, heels, you know, that kind of thing. So with my leftovers, I was hoping I would be able to get kind of a full sock, but I'm not. So my whip is what's left of these, and I'll show what I'm doing instead. But really loving these. They're so pretty. Aren't they so pretty? They're going to sit on my sock blockers for a while. Any of my new socks, either for me or him, sit on my wall as art until I finish the next pair, or if I don't like the next pair as much as I like the pair that's on the socks. So he will get these eventually, maybe sometime this year. But I'm just so pretty. Toe up, the heel I did was I'm calling it the Ducati heel because she's the designer that I pulled the pattern from. And you can see, so you do an increase, so you have a little room here, and then it's like this one is 2 wedges. So I kind of like that. I will have to say I did have to rip back here a few times to get the right, because it's a newish heel for me. I don't have it written down the exact length I should go to before starting this heel. So I did try it on him a few times and have to rip back and whatever. I redid a heel a few times, but I got it right now, and I got 2 socks, and they're just so happy and so pretty. So that, if you want to get it, I highly recommend the Woolens and Nosh. I really liked, because I don't necessarily know if I'm going to get another mini next year. I have a lot of mini skeins, as evidence. I'll talk about when I did my annual stash countdown. So I don't necessarily need another Advent mini next year, but I do kind of like having the Advent, and I was on top of it. Like I was knitting, you know, a stripe or more because I wanted to finish. I thought maybe I would have more in for Christmas, so I wanted to finish them before. So I made sure that I kept on top of that, and it was just nice to come home and do, and it was pretty quick. The other socks, which I'm putting on stock blockers, these are actually dirty because I've worn them already, I think twice. are what I'm calling my Christmas scrappy socks. And this was intended to be scraps. This was intended to be another pattern. I didn't like it. And so all of these are scraps that I had that I wanted to get out of my stash. And so I just came up with this pattern and came up with these really fun Christmas socks. So this has a bunch of different yarns in it. This is Ritual Dyes Maiden, and this was leftover from a colorwork sweater I did. The white is Barocco Comfort sock that I've had forever. This was the oldest yarn in my stash at 2014 that I really wanted to get out. So the green is Julie Yarns Pesto that I used in an eyeball shawl that I did by Stephen West, I think 2016. This is West, this kind of jacquard kind of thing is West Yorkshire Spinners leftover I had. And I think that's it. Those are the 4, right? So I had little bits of each one of them. I divided them into equal balls, and then I just kind of made up a stripe pattern. And so I think I did 3 stripes of white, 6 stripes of the solid, either the green or the red, and then I did 12 stripes of the West Yorkshire based on kind of roughly how much I had left. And then I did red toe and then green for the heel. And these are a little looser than I usually make them, but they're great to wear around the house. And I wore them Christmas Day, and I think I wore them to the family's house for Christmas. So super happy. These are mine, already in my rotation. And I don't actually have like a lot of like, this screams Christmas to me. Christmas colors, Christmas everything. So that was a lot of fun to get that, and that helped me get and achieve at the very end some of my goals to get some stuff out of my stash for 2024. Now, the other 2 projects I finished are both charity hats with yarn that I wanted to get out of my stash. And so this is another Splendid Squares hat by Debbie Traynor. This one is Caron Simply Soft and Pumpkin. It's about 140 yards. Again, I had this Caron in my stash for like many years, and I wanted to just use it up and get it out. So this will be going to, I'm not sure which charity, but there's 2 or 3 charities that I give hats to. So this will go into the box for that. Very easy and mindless. This was the last hat I did, and I actually brought this with me to the family Christmas because there's a lot of sitting around. We have probably 40 people there, and they try to do games and stuff for the kids. And so I sat in a corner and knit quite a bit on this hat, which is, the pattern is Jason's Hat by Melissa Thompson. And the yarn is just another Caron Simply Soft I had, and this is just in the natural, and this ended up being about 160 yards. Just a simple cabled sweater, and I made them longer so that they could have a fold over brim. And so this will go, again, in a charity hat. Super easy, super nice, super happy. So those are all the FOs I've had since my last podcast, which I think it's about a month. So 2 hats, 2 pairs of socks. Socks took a while, and then this sweater, which I had a lot of it done. I just had to finish the sleeve, and that took me a while. Fingering always takes me a while. So then my work in progress that I've been working on is I immediately kind of cast on for another scrappy socks. And I think these are kind of going to be my MO for probably the first quarter, at least, of 2024, of trying to use smaller balls of scrap that I have that I consider too much to just be scraps. Like 20 grams and below can go into like a scrap bin. But if I have like half a skein left of sock yarn, I want to use it. So I actually have one of the socks done. Measured out how much I had with the Woolens and Nosh, both the contrasting and the color. And I had about 15 grams, well, 30 grams, 15 grams each of the stripy color, another 10 grams of their solid contrast. So not quite enough to do a pair of socks for me. But if I added a mini, which I have a bunch of minis, then I could. And so this is what I did. Now, I didn't want to do straight because I had 5 grams of the contrast and 15 grams of the color. What I ended up doing is 3 stripes of the color and then 1 stripe of the contrasting, which is why I have a dark line in my color, because I basically have just been doing 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1. The toe is Lantern Lights mini that I had from, I think, a Halloween advent a few years ago. And you can see I did the the same kind of heel, and then I'm just making it short. So I basically used it till I used all of the ones to notch up, and then I just did a shorty. So did a ribbed heel with that, with the lantern lights, and that gives me one of my socks. So you can see I'm not actually doing any kind of color management here. I could try to make it so that you can't see the stripes and stuff, but I didn't care, so I'm not doing it. So this one is done, and then I'm about to do the heel on this one, so I should be done with this one this weekend. And you can see these are my 2 little balls left. So I have to actually do the heel with the lantern lights, and I have enough of that left, and that's going to be. So yeah, I'm happy to use things up, which is very on brand for me. Very on brand. That's what I try to do. So annually I do set goals. I don't necessarily do New Year's resolutions. I do goals. I try to kind of check in every quarter or every 6 months, depending on what the goal is, to see if I'm doing it. Some years I don't. I do this personally and for knitting. So I thought I would share kind of the knitting goals 2024 in review, and then talk about my 2025 goals. So let me pull up my 2024 knitting goals. On my, I'm using OneNote for all of my my notes. All right. And I actually keep a count, and you can kind of see I actually use Google Sheets because I don't pay for like Microsoft Project or whatever, the 365, whatever it's called. I have it at work. I don't have it at home on my home computer, and so I just use Google Sheets. And so I actually keep every year a tally of my projects roughly by the type, number, and approximate yards. So for 2024, I did 40 projects, and for a total yardage of about 18,700 yards. I did 12 hats, 15 pairs of socks. I did a lot of socks last year. 1 cowl, 3 shawls, 5 sweaters, 2 t-shirts, and 2 other, what would that have been? Probably I did a headband, and then I did the knockers. Of those 40, 12 were charity projects, 8 were gifts, 14 of them were for me, and then 6 of them are my gift box, meaning I haven't identified who the person's going to be. I have some extra socks, other things like that. Now, that's pretty good for me. So that is last year, comparatively to 2023, I did 12,500 yards. So I did an extra 6,000 yards of knitting. And last year, I only did 28 projects. So I increased by 25%. I blame that on my knitting friends who encouraged me to keep knitting and to do things and, you know, always talking about knitting. So I didn't really ever truly put it down this year. I think in 2023, I did put it, I had a time, I want to say it like a month or so, I didn't knit at all. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Now, my knitting goals for 2024, and they've kind of been the same for the last few years. I always want to say I want 10% less stash. My overall goal is still to maintain a stash of about 40,000 yards. That to me seems to fit into the storage I've designated for it. I think that's enough turnover. I have enough choices to go for, and then I can still buy. Now, I started 2024 with 47,836 yards, roughly. I wanted to get to 43,000 yards, and I ended with 52,886 yards, an increase of 10%. Totally failed in my goal. Totally failed. That's okay though. I'm happy with my stash acquisitions, but I do still I want my net to be, as I said, to go down. So it's fine. I wanted to do more intention stash buying instead of random, like single skeins. When you start, you get a lot of single skeins. I have a lot of single sock skeins, but I do knit a lot of socks. I will say, so I had wanted to buy sweater quantities mainly for specific sweaters and limit my souvenir yarn. I think I did pretty okay with this, except I had said I wanted to buy a max of 2 sweater quantities. And I think just at Rhinebeck alone, I bought 4. So, and then, yeah. So I just bought too much. I think I did buy more sweater quantities. In fact, I have more sweater quantities, which is something I've always been lacking as opposed to single skeins or things like that, or socks. But I still bought too much. Comparative to the rate that I can knit because of the time I have, because that knowing me and work and everything else. So, I'll say no. I wanted to continue charity knitting. I wanted to make 6 hats and 10 knockers. I made 7 charity hats and 10 knockers. So I totally achieved that. I'm very happy with that. I wanted to use 50% of the yarn that I have in my stash from 2018 or older. That was equivalent in terms of counting up in 2018. I had 21 full skeins and 12 partial skeins. As I said, anything stays in my stash if it's 20 grams and above, as in my stash. Below that, it says, I say it's all used up, and then it goes into my scrap kind of bins that I have for the different things. So started with 21 full, 12 partial, ended with 7 full, 9 partial. So I did really well. Of my 2016 yarns, I used them all up, or 26 and older. That Barocco Comfort was older. For my 2017, I started with 13 items, either full or partial, and I'm down to 5. And for 2018, I started with 16 items, and I ended with 11. So I used more than 50%. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then the last goal I have every year is my Make 9. My Make 9 is specifically projects I pick at the beginning of the year to try to target my older stash. All comes from my stash. I pick projects that I have yarn for in my stash, pair them up, and then try to focus on the older stash to try to get it out. So for 2024, I had a goal of Make 9 of 2 hats, 1 cowl, 2 shawls, 2 sweaters, and 2 socks. Well, 1 was a tee and 1 was a sweater. And I made all 9. I did substitute 1 pattern from what I chose in the beginning. I didn't end up liking the combo of the yarn and the pattern, so I picked a different pattern for the yarn, but I still did it. And so that would have been yeah, I did it. I'm not going to go over every project I did last year. Just really happy that I did it all. Now, brings me to 2025, of which, as I said, my goals are kind of the same from year to year. I want to try to get to lose 20% of my stash, which would be crazy. I'm starting at 52,886. I want to get to 42,308. That's a difference of about 10,000 yards. And considering I did 18,000 yards this year, that is doable as long as I restrict how much is coming in. So we will see. I want to do less buying. That goes back to reduce my stash and only buy sweater quantities when I need them or something I need. If I have a specific yarn or a specific pattern, say I need like a lace weight to hold or something with it, with something I have, something like that. I want to continue charity knitting. I want to do some other bears this year. I have pulled out my old yarns that aren't even counted in my stash. I have like a bin of worsted and above yarns that I use from other bears. I kind of want to use them all up, just get them out. So I want to make 3 mother bears this year. I want to make 6 charity hats and 5 knockers. I want to use the rest of my cotton yarn I have in knockers and then just kind of clear out everything. And then I want to use 50% of my yarn that's 2019 or older. You can see I do every 5 years. I'm starting off with 13 full skeins, 13 partial skeins for that. So that should be doable. And then my Make 9, and I should show you. So I actually have on my OneNote let's see if you can see it, a page, and I actually list all of my yarns by year. And as I use them, I color code them. I say not used, partial, all used, and then I actually have a new destination for Make 9 for ones I've already put in my Make 9, so that I can periodically go back and look and see which yarns I'm trying to get out of the stash this year, because you forget, I have a decent amount of stash. And then my Make 9 this year, I have 3 hats, 3 cowls or shawls, and 3 sweaters. So I'm going to do the Ink Hat by Jennifer Dasso. And I actually have pictures that I'll put here. So my first one up is the Ink Hat. I have I have a leftover camel and yak from a previous sweater and fingering that are in like a dark brown and a natural brown that I want to do this hat in. And then I'm going to do the Thistlethorn hat by Lavanya Petrosella. Anyways, beautiful hat. She's a beautiful designer, has lots of things. This Thistlethorn hat I'm going to be using with leftovers that I have in self-striping in, I think, DK and Sport Weight is my plan. I have enough of 2 of them, and then I think I might need to use a mini. The Deep Woods Toque, very Canadian, Toque, by Kiyomi Bergen. And then this is going to use scraps, some fingering scraps that I have in a green, and then a kind of a cream for the trees is what I'm going to do. Then I'm going to do the Sidestep Brioche Cowl with some Freya, and that's by Tina Whitmore. And I'm going to use some Freya hand paints. I have to use 2 different kind of gradual changing color yarn. And so I bought this yarn a while ago and I loved it. And so I'm going to finally get it used this year. Then I'm going to do the Foolproof Cowl by Louise Sass Bingham. And this is with some cashmere that is actually not quite on the list. Or maybe it is. I can't remember what I got. It's a Kickstarter that I back way too often. I'm going to get more yarn from that Kickstarter too this year. Anyways, it is cashmere from Mongolia and it's red and white. And so I'm going to make this cowl. I'm going to make this cowl up. And then the last shawl I'm doing is a Free Your Fade by Andrea Mowry. I've never done one. And then I have these fun color yarns. One is like a really bright, like neon yellow green, and then some other colors. I'll show it to you when I start, but they go together. I think it'd be I love the mindless of a garter stitch kind of thing. And yeah, I think, and then those are 2 of the 3 skeins in that are old skeins to get off. The 3 sweaters I'm doing are the Alley sweater by Sarah Opie. I have some deep green yarn, and then the color is going to be some leftovers from my monster sweater. So it's the cream with like little pops of green and orange. I like the idea of using all of that up for the color work, and then I just like the sweater. I'm going to be doing the Grayer cardigan by Hanna Masiajuska. And this is actually going to be my first cast on for this year. I'll show you actually the swatch in a minute. And this is, I'm looking for a neutral cardigan to do. I liked this. I'm actually doing this with yarn I picked up at Rhinebeck this year, American U yarn in the natural tweed. It's lovely. I'm going to show you the swatch. So this cardigan is just open front, no buttons. I like the cable detail, and then the back is actually reverse stockinette. And so I will probably change the sleeves, as they're a little too poofy for me, so I might make them a little more fitted, but looking forward to casting this on. And yeah. And then the last one I'm going to do is Simple Something by Honest Strength. And this will be an interesting sweater because I'm going to be using a cone of natural yarn, that's sport weight yarn that I picked up at Knockers on the D-stash table. And I'm going to be using lots of scraps of fingering weight that I have. So that will be something I have to plan later. I haven't decided if I'm going to be crazy or what kind of minimum yards I'm going to do and etc. But I'm very excited about it. I do love my scrappy projects. I use up all the little bits and bobs, and I know lots of other people do too. So yeah, I'm going to do a sweater for that this year. And there were some other ones that are on my queue that are in my maybe, but these are the Make 9 that I've said I'm going to do this year, and then there'll be other projects. I mean, this is only 9 and I did 40 last year. So, but that's on my Make 9. So those are my plans, and I'm super happy with those plans. I'm just super happy. So every year I do an annual stash toss. It's kind of, and it's to go through, I print out my Ravelry, because I do keep all of my yarn. I shouldn't say that, most of my yarn on Ravelry. I had some charity yarn that I had taken from the Knockers D-stash that I hadn't put in, that I would do kind of hats and, it just kind of went in my stash as I do. It was under my bed and in a kind of under your bed box, but it wasn't like a sealed box. and I went in there to kind of toss it, and I was actually going to add it to my stash, and there was moths. So all of it went out. There wasn't too much left. I'd actually only had a few skeins. There was like a Cascade. There was, I think, a Lion Brand Natural Wood. Like, these weren't high end per se, but yeah. So the whole thing went. It was a fabric kind of under the bed bin from IKEA, and it all went. I was like, nope. If you've been here before, I'm in a constant battle with moths. I just can't seem to 100% get rid of them. I'm not too worried about it. My stash is in bins, and so in areas where nothing has gotten into anything. It's more my actual hand knits sometimes if I'm not good with tossing them, and so taking sweaters out and wearing them, and I'm constantly trying to get rid of them, but it is what it is. I can't seem to. I think my boyfriend just got home. Anyways, so that was that. Other life goals. So I had a goal of increasing my net worth, which I think everyone should have. And I continue to do that. I have investments that I do and things like that. So I was pretty happy with that. Not just the gain from the market, which is happening, but the actual money I put in to do that. Health was a big one. And I, for the first time, achieved my weight loss goal in forever. It's been the same goal for a decade, and now I'm there and have well exceeded it. So I'm continuing with my health goals, continuing with my movement goals. I'm really happy overall. My overall step average increased, which met my goal. I'm going to increase it for this year and try to just be healthier. And so I'm really happy with that. My enrichment, I continued to read books. I'm not able to get my final count because my library is down right now, and that's where I pull my history of what I've read. But I'm probably going to be about 150 or 155 for the year. And I think last year I was 160, and the year before that 140. So I'm in roughly the same area. And then I was happy. I went to more musicals. I love my season ticket for going to see musicals, the Hollywood Bowl, and just overall happy. And then I travel's a big thing. So I made my big international trip with Morocco, and I continued my knitting trips and my family trips. And I think I did 10 trips last year. I try to do 12 trips a year, including one international. And so that's my goal again this year. Coming attractions. I talked about I'm going to start my grayer sweater. I just want to share my swatch. Look at how pretty it is. I usually have never done a tweed because I like pick things, but I told myself I would not pick any of these tweed nups. I will leave them in, and I'm really happy with this fabric. And so I'm super excited. I think the cables will look amazing, and this will be a great, just neutral sweater, cardigan. So, I'm going to pause you for a minute so I can tell him I'm recording. Okay, told him, so he does, not that he, whatever. I usually like to record when no one's here, but because of some, not drama, but HVAC and home things, like, yeah, we'll talk about gossip right now. So one of the things happening is my landlord is selling the this house, which is fine. I like my landlord, but that's what you can do. And he's been very generous in wanting to sell it with me in it. So the new tenant has to take over because it's actually two houses together on the same lot, and so it's taken a while, and he's finally got an offer. And so he's trying to do some like last minute, I don't know, improvements or maintenance things, because I think their home inspection is like next week. So the HVAC guy came yesterday to change the filters and then found a part that needed to be replaced. And so then he had to replace it. He called today to see could it come over, which of course he could, except it was right in my solid time of when I was planning to do this. So I had to push it. And as a result, now my boyfriend is home. Anyways, all of that is just extra for you. So TV, what have I been watching? The Diplomat. I have missed the first season around, and it's been on my list to watch for a while. And we finally started it, and it is so good. Kerry Russell is so good. We have just finished the second season. We pretty much blitzed season 1 and 2 in 5 days. And first season was better than second season. It got slightly silly, a little bit. But I'm still super happy with it. So the other thing that we're watching is season 2 of Silo on Apple TV. Really good dystopian science fiction show of, you know, humanity lives in a silo underground and they don't know why and what happened, or, you know, etc. It's based on a series of books. I'm very excited. I'm going to read the first book. It's on my list. I think it's based on season 1. So I'm not going to read ahead of the books. I'm going to wait as the seasons come out because I think they are planning on 4 seasons, and that will go through all of the books that are out there. And then the other one I really enjoyed on Apple TV was Shrinking with Jason Segel, and Harrison Ford. It's so witty and irreverent and yet touching and really well done. Very LA. They live in LA, and I think there's some of that feeds into the people they are. I'm sure it is kind of true-ish to LA, which people watching goes, really? People are like that? And the answer is yes. Yes, they are. And then Miss Scarlet on PBS. Love this show. It is a only female detective, and I think 1800s London, and it's the 4th or 5th season. It used to be Miss Scarlet and the Duke, but the Duke left. He moved to New York, so it's just Miss Scarlet now, and I really enjoy it. One of my many, many murder kind of crime shows that I love. But that's what I'm enjoying watching right now. Reading, I will update you on my reading next time. I'm continuing with my series, so my Margaret Maron, Deborah Knott series. I think I'm on book 8. Inspector Ganache, not Inspector Ganache, that's the wrong inspector. Inspector Bruno. I'm doing that, and then just some other kind of romance and silly ones like that I'm really enjoying reading. And so I do that, and then I try to throw in, like, you know, the recommendations of what everyone is reading, like the greater populace when some of these books hit. And so I've been adding some of those in as well. Travel. So I have an upcoming trip in, I guess it's almost 2 weeks. 2 weeks? Yeah. I'll be going to see one of my oldest and dearest friends and her family in Cleveland. My love for her is the only reason I'm willing to visit. But I usually try to see her try to see her and her family annually, and I did not go. I usually go in the summer. I did not go last summer, and she kind of goaded me into, well, when are you coming? And kids grow fast, and I want them to know Auntie Allison. So I am going for a long weekend in January. So I have a new winter jacket. I have some, yeah, it'll be cold. I'll pull out the woolies and get to wear the heavy sweaters. And then my mom is actually going to come visit. That was a last minute kind of decision. My partner has to go do an inspection trip out of town, and I had Wicked tickets. And rather than try to change them, I asked my mom if she would like to come out for the week. And she said yes. So she's going to come out the last weekend of January. It'll be very exciting travel. I used my points and was able to book her flight and have her fly a first class, which she's never had the opportunity to do before. So that will be exciting. So she's going to come out, and then I'm going to take a few days with her. We might go do something. I'm not sure yet. I have to decide. And then the rest of my trips are my annual trips. So the Virginia Beach Yarn Getaway, I'll be going to that in February. I'll be going to Anaheim WonderCon with my partner in March, and that's a comic book kind of popular culture convention. I'll be going to the Northern California Knitting Retreat in April, the Zombie Apocalypse Knitting Retreat in June, and then the other trips I have planned, I probably have some more in the summer, but what's definitely on the books is my annual college friends trip. And our girls trip this year will be going to Santa Barbara, so that will be easy for me. I don't have to fly anywhere. I'll probably have to drive more though, but that's okay. And then the big international trip is Hohi's Knitting Retreat in Buenos Aires over my birthday with my mom. Super excited about that. So yeah, that's what's happening. That's what I got going on. I hope everyone is having a good start to 2025. I am. I'm having a good start. Part of it is I've been off. I took the latter part of this week off, so I've been able to get out and do a long walk every day and get things on my list, like podcasts and getting updated pictures and other stuff like that, like just getting organized. I need to do some cleaning this weekend. So that will be part of that list. And yeah, just getting through 2025, figuring out another year, what's going to happen, another year around, and things like that. So I hope this finds everyone having a good start to 2025. It's always a good time to reset, even if you don't do resolutions. As I said, I do goals, not necessarily resolutions, and there's plenty of them I don't meet every year, but at least it gives me an idea of something I'm trying to do. And so what are the things that are important to me? Though I fall into my funks like everybody else. Yeah, so that's what I got going on. I just hope everyone's well. Everyone had a good holiday. Everyone's going into the new year, 2025. I like those 5 numbers. I don't know. Yeah, quarter of the century gone. All right, that's it. So that's a wrap from Hollywood, where fantasy meets fiber and dreams are knit. Bye, everybody.